So, we've finally done it. We've officially hit rock bottom in this franchise. But before I spend this whole review dissing this movie to hell and back, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justice, and today I'm now 6 reviews deep into the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and it is my dishonor to say we are now on Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare. In this entry, Freddy Krueger returns once again to prowl the nightmares of Springwood's last surviving teenager, and of a woman whose personal connection to Freddy may mean his doom. This film released roughly 2 years after The Dream Child, and after The Dream Child became the lowest grossing film in the franchise, New Line Cinema decided that they were going to finish off the Freddy franchise with this film, and apparently that also meant kicking Lisa Wilcox to the curb, since her character Alice doesn't appear anywhere in this movie. The movie also takes place 10 years after The Dream Child, with an opening title card stating that all the Springwood children are now dead except for one, which, with where the last movie left off, is also an admittedly stupid idea and leads to some of the more cringe-inducing scenes in this film. But overall, this movie is a playbook on how not to do a sequel or a final chapter of your franchise, and yet even present horror movie franchises have not learned from the mistakes of this 30-year-old flick. Trust me, we'll get there in due time, and I'll explain this way better when we get there. But every misstep this movie can take, it does take. Rather than having any connection to our other films and having a returning character like, I don't know, maybe Alice from both 4 and 5. Instead, we're introduced to a new cast of teens being tormented by Freddy, the most unlikable group of teens, mind you, because almost every scene they share is them fighting and talking shit to each other. And we also get a massive, and I mean massive, lore drop for Freddy in this film, but it is entirely forced and too little too late, especially seeing as we are now 6 movies deep into this franchise, and this was supposed to be the final entry, which for the most part it kind of is, which makes these choices all the more stupid. We then jump into the painfully stupid gimmick of 3D, but for only the last 10 minutes of the film for, reasons, I guess. And, of course, I've said it a lot in my last 2 videos, and I just want to preface it here. I love Robert Englund. He's fantastic as Freddy Krueger, but I absolutely hate the direction the studio took this character, and by this entry, Freddy has fully surpassed being just a wisecracking comedian and is now a full-blown cartoon villain. At many points, many of his scenes straight up mirror Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, with Robert Englund, even in interviews at the time, imagining himself as more of a Bugs Bunny type in this film. The cherry on top of this shit pie, too,
Eat my shit.
the group of troubled teens are essentially way less interesting dream warriors. We have Tracy, who had an abusive father, Carlos, who has hearing aids, which I genuinely remember nothing about his character, even though I just watched this movie, so that tells you what his kill is going to inevitably be. We also have Spencer, whose father wants him to be just like him, so he's acting out by starting fires, smoking pot, playing video games, and apparently making pipe bombs, I guess. The only real notable thing I can say about his character is he's played by Bracken Meyer, who went on to be in Clueless, and though I like him in that movie, I cannot stand him in this film. We also have our very last Elm Street survivor, John Doe, which if you notice the name John Doe, it's because he's never actually given a name in this movie at any point, actually. Even after his death, we don't ever learn his real name, so it's John Doe for all intensive purposes, and most of his character is just trying to remember what happened to him while yelling at everybody while he's awake. So he doesn't accomplish much the short amount of screen time he has in this franchise. And then we have Maggie, our no bullshit therapist type of the group, who's here to save the troubled teens, the real Nancy Thompson of this film. But the oh so huge plot twist is that this woman is in fact Freddy's long-lost daughter, a twist that has no lead up to it in the previous 5 entries and feels entirely forced. You mean to tell me in all these films we never once heard any mention of Maggie, and now we are supposed to have her as our main heroine and the one to kill Freddy Krueger off once and for all by the end? This is where I'm going to draw a parallel between 2 more recent films to this one, the first of which being both Scream 5 and 6. In those films, we are introduced to Samantha Carpenter, who is revealed to have been Billy's long-lost daughter, and through both entries, we see her grappling with the misdeeds of her dad and fighting off the urges of being just like him. It works for me in these movies, and having this revealed unknown child, because this isn't meant to be the final entry in the Scream franchise, but rather a soft reboot, and it's trying to introduce us to a new set of characters that we will see in future entries. In Freddy's Dead, this is the final film of the franchise. It was marketed as such, so why am I supposed to care about Maggie when every other final girl in the franchise has been far more superior and way more fleshed out? She isn't a Nancy, she isn't a Kristen, Alice, or hell, we'll even throw Jessie from Nightmare 2 in the mix. They dabble with Freddy taunting Maggie that his evil is in her too, but it's never expanded upon. It's simply just a cheap trick to remind you that this is Freddy's daughter, after all, because God forbid we get any, actual character growth or, anything further than, a surface-level archetype for a character in this film. What this movie feels more reminiscent of, to me, would be Halloween Ends. In that film, we are marketed that this is the final Halloween, and that it's going to be a true showdown between both Laurie and Michael, but instead, they spend the grand majority of the film's runtime focusing on our new character, Corey, who even overshadows Michael at times. Just like with Corey, I genuinely would not have had so much of a problem with Maggie if we weren't spending so much time to focus in on a character we know nothing about in the final chapter. And to step away from the Maggie of it all, I can't even say the kills in this are all that great. I had my problems with both Dream Master and Dream Child, but at the end of the day, I still had some kills I enjoyed, and overall, I could see what they were going for in those films. I can't say the same thing here. This film had a total of 1 kill that I didn't mind, and the rest are just cartoony BS, and the only one I enjoyed was Carlos's, where he is the character, as I mentioned earlier, who has the hearing aids, and in his dream, Freddy takes away his hearing aids. You have a part where Freddy shoves, a cotton swab from one ear through the other, really gross, uncomfortable effect, and then eventually he puts on, these, mutant, style hearing aids on his ears, and these eventually cause his head to blow up as Freddy starts doing, increasingly louder and louder things. I didn't even so much mind when Freddy pulls out the chalkboard. Yes, it's a little cartoony, but it wasn't any more cartoony than anything we'd seen in 4 or 5, so it really didn't bother me much here, and I thought the lead up to the kill was actually pretty decent. I had fun with it. The others, I don't feel that way about, and it again just leads into the cartoony BS of it all in this film, because, for example, we have John Doe's character, who initially we are led to believe that this is Freddy's son, when it's not, and it was very much obviously not. In his dreams, we have this reoccurring thing where Freddy keeps showing up and spoofing the Wizard of Oz for reasons that I cannot name, and it is nowhere near as iconic as Cynthia Erivo taking up the Wicked Witch's mantle, but Freddy sure did try his best, and I'm really glad Wicked wasn't out at this time. I swear to God, I feel like they probably would have forced Robert Englund to try to hit that high note on the broomstick just for the comedy purposes of it all. But in his dream sequences, he keeps being inside this house that's been pulled up into the air and falling from the sky. And in his final one, where he's in this house yet again, he pulls out a parachute and he's falling from the air when Freddy comes flying down from the parachute and grabs him. And he tries to stop Mr. Krueger from killing him by telling Mr. Krueger that he knows that he's his dad and he won't hurt him, and Freddy admits that, no, you're not my son, before cutting the straps on the parachute and he falls to his death. I don't mind that so much. What I do mind is when we get to the ground and we have Freddy pushing out this bed of spikes for him to land on. And it, like, again, it's just cartoony bullshit that I couldn't get behind whatsoever. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could prepare me for Spencer's death. It is hands down the worst death in this entire franchise. I don't think they're ever going to be able to top it. In fact, I think they'd have to try way harder than they did to even come up with this death. But remember how I said Spencer likes to smoke pot and play video games? Well, Spencer smokes some pot, and the filmmakers, I guess, think that pot is a psychedelic because Spencer starts tripping in his dream world and thinking like, oh, this is some really good weed, man. As he's tripping, he ends up being inside a Freddy Krueger video game, and Freddy is playing this game and using his abusive father to come after him in the game. And in the real world, all of our characters see Spencer, and he's moving around with little Nintendo, like, Mario sounding noises as he, like, jumps up and down, up and down. Every time I watch this movie, I forget just how much that whole scene upsets me and how much it annoys me. And then the kill leads up to nothing at all after we have Freddy using this joystick to move him around and all this shit. It leads to him falling into a hole underneath the stairs, and that's it. Spencer's gone. The end. Like, I really don't know who the hell wrote this movie and who it was written for, because it's not good. Like, I don't need to be the one to tell you that. It's not good. And then by our ending sequence too, when the movie remembers that it has to be in 3D, we have Maggie put on these 3D glasses to go into the dream world, and that was the cue for the audience to be reminded, like, oh yeah, when Maggie puts on the 3D glasses, we put on the 3D glasses, because only 10 minutes of this movie is in 3D. But her whole plan going into the dream to get Freddy is to pull him into the real world, because they can get him there, because that's never been done before. Ignore Nightmare on Elm Street 1, apparently. But as she's in the dream, we have all these flashbacks to Freddy's youth. I don't so much mind most of the flashbacks. I don't think they're that good, but I don't mind them. We see Freddy in a schoolhouse and getting mocked by a bunch of kids as they keep yelling at him, son of 100 maniacs, which I feel like that's a little weird that you have a bunch of kids yelling that at you, especially with the context of how Freddy was conceived, but kids can be cruel, so I'll give them that, I guess. And then we have Alice Cooper, who shows up in the film as Freddy's father in this entry, and he is beating the shit out of Freddy, and Freddy is just kind of into it. So that's about that. He kills his dad too in the flashback. There's not much else I can say there. What I cannot give a pass to is the god-awful tiki-looking heads that come out when Freddy is in the boiler room when the parents decide to burn him. They look so freaking ridiculous, and they are the dream demons that gave Freddy all of his power so that he could haunt people in the dream world. And essentially they're like, hey Freddy, we got a job for you. Do you want this? You're about to die, but do you want to be forever? And Freddy obviously takes up the deal, and that's why we have all these movies. And why did we need to see that? Why was that in this movie? There was no reason for it, no rhyme or place for it, and the damn tiki heads are about as scary as the tiki heads that we see in The Princess and the Frog. But of course, after all this, we have Maggie, who pulls Freddy out of the dream world and into the real world, and Maggie ends up killing him with the pipe bomb that Spencer had at the beginning of the film. And yes, you heard that right. With all the ways Freddy has died, it is a pipe bomb that does him in once and for all. So between Nightmares 3 and 4, they gave Freddy some of the best deaths in this franchise. Stuff that I don't think that they could top. The fact that they were able to top the Dream Warrior's death with the Dream Master death, I think is extremely commendable, and it was just a downhill slope from there after that. And this one is like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? This is really what defeats Freddy. We've seen so much bigger and crazier shit that didn't get rid of him for good. And we're supposed to believe that a pipe bomb is what did him in. And I guess essentially it is what it did him in, because this is pretty much the end of the original set of movies for the original franchise. I don't know if you guys can tell by all of my fucking rambling, but I really, really hate this goddamn movie, and I am so glad that I am moving past it now, because I really don't have anything else to say about it. I don't really have anything positive to say about it. Even though I wasn't a really big fan of Dream Master or Dream Child, there was still stuff in it that I did enjoy, and I was able to see what they were going for. In this film, this is just nothing but a blatant cash grab, and that's all I can see from it. They just did all of the things they could do with Freddy, and they ran out of ideas, and they weren't willing to do anything new and creative with the character. They just wanted to slop out a film and make a couple more bucks. That's all I feel about this movie, and it is such a goddamn waste of time. And after this review, I don't think I actually ever plan on watching this film ever again, because what reason would I have to do that to myself? Like, let's be for real. But anyways, before I rant my little heart out anymore, you guys should let me know what you thought of Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare, and if you hated it as much as I did, or if possibly you were able to find some kind of love in it. Good for you. I could not do that, but good for you if you could. Also, if you want more content in the future just like this, I would love if you hit that subscribe button. I still got 3 more Nightmare movies to cover, so if you want to see that, then stick around. I'd love to have you. Anyways, with that all out of the way, this has been Justice, and I really hope to catch you on the next one. Take care.